Right now, as you're watching this, there are brand new cars sitting on dealer lots across the country that have been there for over a year. Not used cars, not trade-ins nobody wanted. Brand new, zero-mile, factory-fresh vehicles that rolled off the truck, got parked in the back row, and just stayed there. And the numbers are kind of wild when you actually look at them. The industry average for selling a new car is about 80 days. Some of these cars are sitting at 400, 500 days. That's not a slow month. That's a car that's been depreciating in the sun since before the last Super Bowl. And here's the thing. That's not necessarily bad news for you. Because every single day one of these cars sits on a dealer's lot, that dealership is paying interest on it. It's called floor plan financing, and it means the dealer borrowed money to buy that car from the manufacturer, and every month it sits there, they're writing a check, which means by the time you walk in and point at one of these, the dealer doesn't just want to sell it, they need to sell it. And that changes the entire negotiation. So here are 12 brand new cars that nobody is buying in 2026, why they're sitting there, and what that means for your wallet if you're smart enough to take advantage of it. Number 1, the Nissan Rogue plug-in hybrid. And honestly, this one surprised me more than any car on this list because it's sitting at almost 490 days of supply. That's not a typo. That is a year and 4 months of inventory sitting on Nissan lots across the country right now. And the reason is pretty simple. Nobody asked for this car. Nissan took the Rogue, which is a perfectly good-selling crossover, and added a plug-in hybrid system that costs about $6,000 more than the regular Rogue, gives you maybe 35 miles of electric range, and doesn't qualify for the full federal tax credit the way it used to. So you're paying $42,000 for what is essentially a Rogue with a heavier powertrain and a charging cable you'll forget to plug in. A buyer on Reddit put it perfectly. He said he walked into his local Nissan dealership in Ohio, saw 11 Rogue plug-in hybrids parked in a row, and the salesman told him they'd sold 2 since January. 2. In 8 months. He ended up buying a regular Rogue for $32,000 and said the $10,000 difference would buy him gas for the next 6 years. Number 2. The Ford Mustang Mach-E, 548 days of supply. And that number tells you everything you need to know about what happened to the EV market in 2026. This car was supposed to be Ford's answer to Tesla, and for a while, it kind of was. But the market shifted. Buyers started moving toward hybrids. Charging infrastructure still isn't where it needs to be in a lot of the country, and Ford kept building them like it was 2022. A Mach-E owner in Texas, a guy who actually loves his, told a forum that he bought his premium AWD through his local Ford dealer for about $7,000 below MSRP. Sticker was $54,000, he paid $47,000, and the dealer threw in free charging for a year at Electrify America. His insurance through State Farm runs about $210 a month in Dallas, which honestly isn't terrible for a performance EV, but he also said he's the only person he knows who bought one this year. And that's the problem. The car isn't bad. The timing is. Number 3, the Volkswagen ID4, 418 days. And this one hurts because VW put real engineering into this car, and the market just didn't care. The ID4 competes with the Tesla Model Y, which outsells it by a ratio that's honestly embarrassing to print. VW's response has been to throw money at the problem. Dealers are offering $8,000 to $12,000 off MSRP in some markets right now. If you can find a Pro S that's stickered at $46,000 and talk them down to $35,000 or $36,000, that's a genuinely good car for the money. But most people never get that far because the badge says Volkswagen and the price tag said luxury, and those two things don't match in most American buyers' heads. Number 4, the Nissan Altima. 357 days. And the Altima's problem has a name. It's called the CVT. Nissan's continuously variable transmission has been the subject of so many complaints, so many lawsuits, and so many Reddit horror stories that even the people who've never had a problem with one won't buy the car because their coworker's sister's boyfriend had one that died at 60,000 miles. The 2026 Altima actually has an improved CVT. Nissan engineers addressed the heat management issues that killed the earlier ones, but the reputation is already baked in. Dealers in the Northeast are offering $27,000 for a fully loaded SL that stickers at $34,000. That's $7,000 off a brand new midsize sedan. A Camry at that price would be gone in a week. The Altima sits. Number 5, the Dodge Charger, 340 days. And this one is complicated because the new Charger is actually a pretty bold move from Stellantis. They killed the V8, brought it back as a muscle car with a 6-cylinder Hurricane engine and an EV option, and the enthusiast community lost its mind. Not in the good way. Charger forums are full of people who say the car looks great, but the soul is gone. Whether that's fair or not is a conversation I'm not going to settle, but the market has spoken. 340 days says buyers agree. The 6-cylinder Charger starts at around $36,000. The Daytona EV variant pushes past $60,000. And for $60,000, you could buy a BMW M300 40i and have change left over for a year of insurance through Geco. That's the math that's killing this car. Number 6, the Jeep Gladiator, 323 days. And the Gladiator is a textbook case of a car that costs more than what people think it should cost. It starts at around $40,000 for a base sport, and by the time you add the options that make it actually usable as a truck, the tow package, the larger bed, the technology group, you're pushing $50,000 to $55,000 for a mid-size truck. A Toyota Tacoma TRD Off-Road, which is the Gladiator's direct competitor, comes in at about $44,000 with similar equipment and holds its value like a savings bond. Gladiator buyers on Reddit report negotiating 12 to 15% off MSRP at Jeep dealerships right now, which means if you find a Rubicon that's stickered at $58,000, you could realistically walk out at $49,000 or $50,000. That's still expensive, but it's a lot more Jeep for the money than what you'd have gotten 2 years ago. Number 7, the Maserati Grecale, 298 days. And honestly, the Grecale might be the saddest story on this list. Maserati positioned it as a competitor to the Porsche Macan, which is one of the best-selling luxury SUVs in the world, and then priced it at $70,000 to $90,000 with an interior that owners compare unfavorably to a $45,000 Genesis GV70. A buyer in New Jersey posted that his local Maserati dealer has had the same 6 Grecales on the lot since last fall, and one of them has sun damage on the dashboard from sitting in direct sunlight for 9 months. That's not a great look for a $90,000 luxury vehicle. Number 8. The Buick Envision, 287 days. And the Envision's problem isn't that it's a bad car, it's that nobody knows it exists. Quick test. Name 3 things about the Buick Envision. Most people can't name one. It competes with the Hyundai Tucson, the Toyota RAV4, and the Honda CR-V, and every single one of those cars outsells it by a factor of 10. The Envision starts at around $34,000, which is competitive, and it actually has a really quiet cabin and a smooth ride. But Buick's marketing budget appears to be roughly the same as a neighborhood lemonade stand. So here it sits. If you're the kind of buyer who doesn't care about badges and just wants a comfortable crossover that nobody else on your street has, the Envision at 20% off might be the quietest deal in the market. Number 9, the Jeep Recon, 270 days. The Recon was supposed to be Jeep's all-electric answer to the Bronco, a rugged, off-road capable EV that would bring younger buyers into the brand. Instead, it launched into a market that was already cooling on EVs at a price that starts around $55,000 before you add a single option. A Bronco Outer Banks with the Sasquatch package costs about $48,000 and runs on gas you can find everywhere. The Recon needs a charger you might need to plan your weekend around. The math doesn't work for most people, and 270 days of supply proves it. Number 10, the Jeep Grand Wagoneer, 241 days. And this is the 3rd Jeep on this list, which tells you something about what's happening at Stellantis right now. The Grand Wagoneer is a beautiful truck, genuinely. The interior is one of the nicest in the full-size SUV segment. The Macintosh sound system is incredible, and it drives like a vehicle that should cost $90,000, which is exactly what it costs. And that's the problem. At $90,000, you're competing with the BMW X7, the Mercedes GLS, and the Lincoln Navigator. And every one of those badges carries more weight with the kind of buyer who spends $90,000 on an SUV. A Grand Wagoneer owner in Arizona, a guy who actually bought one and loves it, says his insurance through Progressive runs $340 a month, and his first-year maintenance at the Jeep dealership came to about $2,200, which is actually less than what his neighbor spends on his GLS. But he also says every time he tells someone what he paid, they say the same thing. You paid $90,000 for a Jeep. Number 11. The Chevrolet Blazer EV. And the Blazer EV is proof that a bad launch can poison a car for years. When this thing first hit dealerships, the software was so buggy that GM literally told dealers to stop selling it. They paused production, issued a recall, and by the time they fixed everything, the damage was done. The 2026 model is apparently solid. Owners who have one say the technology works, the range is competitive, and the driving experience is genuinely fun. But nobody's buying it because the first impression is the one that sticks. Dealers are offering massive discounts. We're talking $8,000 to $10,000 off sticker in some markets, and it still sits. At around $35,000 after discounts for an RS trim that's stickered at $45,000, the Blazer EV is actually a lot of car for the money. But you'd have to be the kind of person who does their own research and ignores the headlines, and most car buyers aren't. Number 12, the Acura ZDX. And this is the last car on the list, and in some ways, the most puzzling one. Acura took the Prologue platform, which is GM's Ultium architecture, put an Acura badge on it, priced it starting at around $64,000, and expected people to cross-shop it with a Tesla Model Y that costs $20,000 less. The ZDX is not a bad vehicle. The Type S variant actually has 340 horsepower and a genuinely premium interior, but Acura has no EV reputation, no charging network partnership that stands out, and no answer to the question every buyer asks. Why would I pay $64,000 for an electric Acura when I could buy a Tesla, a BMW iX, or a Hyundai Ioniq 5 for less? Dealers don't have an answer either. That's why they're sitting there. So here's the bottom line. These 12 cars are sitting on lots for different reasons. Bad timing, bad pricing, bad reputations, bad launches. But not a single one of them is sitting there because it literally doesn't work. Every car on this list drives, brakes, and gets you from A to B. And because they're sitting there, you have leverage that you don't have on a RAV4 or a CR-V or a Civic, where the dealer looks at you like you're lucky to be allowed to buy one. If you're shopping right now, walk into any of these dealerships, ask to see the car that's been there the longest, and start your negotiation from there. The dealer knows exactly how long it's been sitting. Their floor plan lender knows too. And every month it stays. That car costs the dealership money. That's not a car nobody wants. That's a car nobody found yet. And now you know where to look. If this helped you think differently about how you shop for a car, subscribe. I don't do sponsorships. I don't do affiliate deals. I just do the research, so you don't have to. I'll see you in the next one.